Can Ukraine survive without U.S. military support?
Probably it will be very, very difficult. And of course, in all the difficult situations, you have a chance, but we will have low chance to survive without support of the United States.
US President Donald Trump has instructed the Defense Department to pause all military aid to Ukraine following his public spat with Volodymyr Zelensky, news agencies reported on Monday, citing American officials.
Tomorrow, Brian, our Lucas Tomlinson reporting the United States is pausing all U.S. military aid to Ukraine.
According to Bloomberg, the freeze affects the equipment already designated for delivery, including weapons in transit on aircraft and ships or waiting in transit areas in Poland. The suspension will stay in place until Trump sees that the Ukrainian leaders, and I quote, demonstrate a good faith commitment to peace, Bloomberg said, citing a senior Pentagon official. But what does this mean exactly for Ukraine and the ability to sustain the fight on the front, especially since Biden had released a large amount of aid to Ukraine just before he demitted office?
Your concern being without U.S. military support, Ukraine would be vulnerable to another attack by Russia in another few years. Is that your concern?
Well, there are several things to look at. First, South Front Press reports that, according to preliminary reports from the front lines, Washington began the gradual return of American citizens from Ukrainian units after the launch of negotiations with Russia. This process includes the return of the bodies of dead U.S. citizens and wounded soldiers being treated in Ukrainian medical institutions.
I'm a medic in Ukraine, and we are shitting ourselves over here. The fucking front line is crumbling left, right, and center. How dare you dilly and dally like this?
Especially after U.S. aid was closed, some military recruitment centers were left without funds and stopped recruiting U.S. citizens. U.S. mercenaries were reportedly informed about the need to leave the combat zone. They are recommended to go to the Ukrainian rare areas or even to surrender to Russian forces on the front lines, where they are reportedly guaranteed safety. Cases of U.S. mercenaries surrendering to Russian troops were already recorded on the battlefields. But secondly, and perhaps most importantly for Ukraine,
we have just concluded a meeting of the NATO-Ukraine Council where I urged allies to provide Ukraine immediately with more air defense systems.
Ukraine is critically dependent on the US for air defense systems, multiple rocket launcher systems, and artillery shells. So today we will explore the likely effects of President Trump's order to suspend all military aid to Ukraine, if that suspension is not lifted soon. Now, my friends, all that I ask is that you assist this channel in sustaining its fight against mainstream media propaganda by joining the channel membership and avail yourself of exclusive long-form content analysis, combat footage, and breaking news that is often not shown in Western media.
Якщо сказати одним словом, то
stick around to the end screen for some bonus footage and an introductory video to the membership program. And if that is not up your alley, then leave some love with a super thanks donation. Now, I know some of you don't like donating on YouTube, so I was finally able to link my PayPal account and you can donate there. The link is in the channel description. Lastly, today is the last day for the 15% off discount on all items at the merch store. Grab yourself some unique Whips Geopolitics Alternative Media merch and represent your support for independent media. Remember, you can customize the size and placement of the logo. Now, a quick shout out to my newest channel members here. And let's get at it. So according to the New York Times, Trump's unprecedented order takes effect immediately and affects more than $1 billion in arms and ammunition in the pipeline and on order. The president has been clear that he is focused on peace. We need our partners to be committed to that goal as well. We are pausing and reviewing our aid to ensure that it is contributing to a solution, a White House official told Reuters. The Wall Street Journal reported earlier on Monday that Washington has stopped funding new weapon sales to Ukraine and was considering freezing weapon shipments. Trump has repeatedly accused Zelensky of undermining his effort to broker a peace deal between Kiev and Moscow. Their public feud culminated in an unprecedented shouting match during a meeting in the Oval Office on Friday, after which Trump said that Zelensky was disrespectful to the United States.
Even you, but you have nice ocean and don't feel now, but you will feel it in the future. God bless.
You don't know that.
God bless.
You don't
God
know
bless.
that.
You will not have a war.
Don't tell us what we're going to feel. We're trying to solve a problem. Don't tell us what we're going to feel.
I'm not telling you.
Because
I'm
you're in no
answering on
position
this
to
question.
dictate that.
That's
Remember
exactly
this.
what
I'm not
You're in
dictating.
no position to dictate what we're going to feel.
Zelensky has insisted that a ceasefire must be tied to security guarantees provided by the US and other Western countries. Trump, however, has refused to commit to specific guarantees and has ruled out making Ukraine a NATO member or contributing American troops to a potential peacekeeping mission. On Sunday, Zelensky told reporters that, and I quote, "An agreement to end the war is still very, very far away, and no one has started all these steps as yet." Trump condemned his statement on social media, promising that America will not put up with it for much longer. This guy doesn't want there to be peace as long as he has America's backing, Trump wrote on his Truth Social platform. Zelensky told reporters last month that Ukraine had a low chance of survival without American aid. The US is one of Kiev's principal suppliers of weapons, including M1 Abrams tanks, Bradley armored vehicles, M777 howitzers, HIMARS multiple rocket launchers, and artillery rounds. As of December of 2024, the Pentagon has committed more than $66 billion in security assistance to Ukraine since 2022. Now, as of present, the supply of American weapons to Ukraine has continued under contracts signed while President Biden still held power. According to the plan, these supplies could continue until the end of 2025. Ukrainian officials claim about 40% of the weapons to the front are already Ukrainian-made. The rest are supplies from European and American partners, they say. They also say that Kiev's main efforts are now aimed at replacing most of the American weapons through its own production and with the support of EU countries, so that Trump's cut does not become the cause of a failure on the front. However, a senior Ukrainian defense official explained to the BBC that Kiev is in fact critically dependent on the US for a few types of weapons. For example, he says that this does not apply to the main means of destruction and consumables at the front, that is, reconnaissance, strike, and FPV drones. The vast majority of them are assembled by Ukrainian private and state companies, he claims. In addition, he says that over the past 6 months, Ukrainians have been working to localize the production of all major components in the country, supplied primarily from China and the USA. The work is almost complete. 95% of the drones manufactured in Ukraine are assembled from Ukrainian components, they claim. According to the head of one of the largest Ukrainian private defense companies, Ukrainian Armor, Vladislav Belbas, in addition to FPV drones, the military-industrial complex also fully covers its own needs for armored vehicles, mortars, artillery systems, and also partially covers the need for ammunition. In quotations, "We are actively developing our own ammunition production. We already produce more Soviet-caliber ammunition than all of our Western partners combined," Belbas noted. Ukrainian authorities are also actively working on creating joint ventures with European arms manufacturers. About 10 such enterprises, which are engaged in the joint production of various types of weapons, from armored vehicles to missiles, are already in operation. Servicing American F-16 fighters provided to Ukraine should also not be a problem, so says Kiev. They say that there is one company in Europe that specializes in this, so US aid can be replaced, a Ukrainian official told the BBC. The same, they say, goes for Starlink satellite communications. Although the company itself and its owner, Elon Musk, said that they do not plan to deprive the Ukrainian military of access to this technology, Ukraine already has several backup options in case this does happen. One of them was tested in the Kursk region, where Starlink does not work. But despite all this, according to the Ukrainian official, dependence on the United States for air defense systems and missiles for them remains critical. We are talking about the Patriot air defense system, which can shoot down ballistic and aeroballistic targets. We are working on a replacement, but there are only about 5 countries in the world that can produce their own air defense systems. Therefore, they admit replacing the American ones will be quite difficult, the BBC source noted. At the same time, Ukrainian developers are trying to find other solutions for shooting down Russian air targets, which would allow them to save on scarce Western air defense missiles. There is another critical dependence on Kiev on American arms manufacturers. We are talking about multiple launch rocket systems, primarily HIMARS and ammunition for them. In the summer of 2022, these MLRS proved themselves very effective at the front, although in subsequent years the effect of their use has decreased due to the effective counteraction of Russian electronic warfare, which had a direct impact on the accuracy of the American MLRS missiles. MLRS guided missiles became the most important means of destruction for the Ukrainian armed forces in the summer of 2022. At that time, the Ukrainian army worked out the tactics of their use and were able to strike some Russian ammunition depots. This tactic caused the Russians to change the system of supplying units at the front. These missiles, with a range of up to 90 kilometers, are equipped with 2 types of warheads, high explosive fragmentation or cluster, as well as 2 types of guidance systems, satellite and inertial. The missile's high accuracy and warhead power are complemented by its speed of deployment. The wheeled HIMARS launcher or the tracked MLRS allow strikes to be launched shortly after receiving intelligence information. These launchers are used for ATACMS missiles with a range of up to 300 kilometers. Although Russian troops have developed methods to counteract MLRS, they are fought with electronic warfare systems, affecting satellite navigation or shooting them down with anti-aircraft missiles. It is impossible to fully defend against a strike, especially when it comes unexpectedly. The problem is that the MLRS, unlike the projectiles, is only made in the United States at Lockheed Martin plants. Expanding production is a difficult task because the missile contains many high-tech parts. There is nothing to replace these missiles with, neither quantitatively or qualitatively. Now, missiles are anti-aircraft systems, and the SAMs themselves are critically important for all of Ukraine. The air defense of the entire state depends on ground-based systems. American SAMs make up the majority of these systems. The value of air defense missiles is hard to overestimate. They have become expendable, and after Russia increasingly actively uses decoy drones, their consumption has increased. Moreover, the F-16 fighters that Ukraine receives from its European allies and uses against Russian cruise missiles use American munitions. Ukraine needs anti-aircraft missiles for 2 reasons. First, they help protect the country's infrastructure from destructive missile strikes. Every time the Ukrainian military claims to have shot down a Russian cruise missile, it means that at least 2 anti-aircraft missiles were fired at it, a common practice among air defense systems. They probably also tried to shoot down the unshot missiles, and each attempt also costs at least 2 anti-aircraft missiles. For several months now, Russia has been using special fake target drones in massive long-range drone strikes that deplete air defense supplies. Tactical drones, especially FPV-1s, have become one of the most effective weapons on the front lines. Since the advent of drones controlled by thin fiber optic cords, they are no longer vulnerable to electronic warfare systems. Such drones can stop an attack by a column of armored vehicles. They even hunt individual soldiers. For the Ukrainian armed forces, which are experiencing an acute shortage of personnel, FPV drones have become a real salvation, since they allow them to maintain defense even in the event of a significant numerical superiority of the Russians. On most sections of the front line, the positions are separated by a strip of several kilometers, and in order to reach the Russians during an attack, Ukrainians need to overcome this distance. However, drones have their drawbacks. First of all, each drone is controlled by one operator, and therefore the massive use of drones is limited by their number. Secondly, in Ukraine, the production of drones is limited by the availability of explosives. There is simply not enough of it to make charges for drones. Therefore, conventional artillery shells remain the most important means of destruction in war and one of the most sought-after resources. With a drone spotter in the sky, the accuracy of modern howitzers is enough to destroy various targets. Each 155mm M107 shell, primarily used by the Ukrainian armed forces, contains just under 7 kilograms of explosive, and its casing produced 36 kilograms of steel fragments. Supplies of American ammunition are critical for Ukraine. Since 2022, a coalition of Ukraine's partner countries, i.e. the Ramstein Group, has achieved some expansion of ammunition production. Now, the end of American aid to Ukraine initially seemed like a worst-case scenario, but now it is the grim reality for Ukraine. The American newspaper, the Wall Street Journal, spoke to military experts, and they made some rather alarming, though not apocalyptic, predictions. In quotations, we can hold out for maybe 6 months or a year to give Europe another year to ramp up ammunition production. We may suffer losses, maybe lose some territory, but we have no choice but to fight despite these difficulties, said Nikolai Beleskov, a senior analyst at the Ukrainian charity Come Back Alive. While Europe could theoretically match US spending, I don't see it being able to provide the full range of weapons needed, and in some critical categories, such as air defense missiles, there would quickly be a volume problem, says Oscar Johnson, an expert at the Swedish Defense University. Air defense missiles cannot be replaced. Increasing their production is also a difficult task. In addition to purely technological difficulties, with the deployment of new production, there is also the problem of investment and organization. From an economic point of view, the EU is a unique entity which differs from the US or Russia in that it does not have a single national military industry. Although Europeans have to simultaneously address issues of increasing production volumes, they are trying to do this simultaneously with the reform of the military-industrial complex. While these difficult processes are far from complete, the Ukrainians hope to find quite effective solutions at the front. They try to replace artillery and even air defense with new types of drones. However, it is left to be seen how effective this can be.
Non-stop, every day.
How are things going? I mean, last time I talked to you was 3 months ago. How is the situation on the front line?
For real, I think situation not really good for me. It's we all tired. We're all tired. We wanna peace.
We lack. We need manpower. We need equipment. The main thing is the abundance of Russian equipment. There's